Hello.
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 Can you believe we're already on week 3 of Creation Staycation?
Special to Jesus, He's my best friend.
Thank you for all the things you sent us last week about bugs and creepy crawlies and all those weirdly wonderful bits of God's creation. Hopefully you enjoyed the challenges and activities as much as we did and found some excellent insects along the way. Here's what we've got for you this week. As ever, we'll kick off with Yvonne introducing us to this week's Bible verse. We'll be finding out some interesting facts with me with Animal of the Week. Julie's been trying her hand at creating beauty from chaos for this week's challenge. And, yes, you've guessed it, we've got music from Mr. Froud.
Whose side are you leaning on? Leaning on the Lord's side. Whose side are you leaning on? Leaning on the Lord's side. I lean, I lean, I lean, I lean. Leaning on the Lord's side. I lean, I lean, I lean, I lean. Leaning on the Lord's side. Whose side are you waving on? Waving on the Lord's side. Whose side are you waving on? Waving on the Lord's side. I wave, I wave, I wave, I wave. Waving on the Lord's side. I wave, I wave, I wave, I wave. Waving on the Lord's side. I lean, I lean, I lean, I lean. Leaning on the Lord's side. I lean, I lean, I lean, I lean. Leaning on the Lord's side. Whose side are you clapping on? Clapping on the Lord's side. Whose side are you clapping on? Clapping on the Lord's side. I clap, I clap, I clap, I clap. Clapping on the Lord's side. I clap, I clap, I clap, I clap. Clapping on the Lord's side. I wave, I wave, I wave, I wave. Waving on the Lord's side. I wave, I wave, I wave, I wave. Waving on the Lord's side. I lean, I lean, I lean, I lean. Leaning on the Lord's side. I lean, I lean, I lean, I lean. Leaning on the Lord's side. Whose side are you dancing on? Dancing on the Lord's side. Whose side are you dancing on? Dancing on the Lord's side. I dance, I dance, I dance, I dance. Dancing on the Lord's side. I dance, I dance, I dance, I dance. Dancing on the Lord's side. I clap, I clap, I clap, I clap. Clapping on the Lord's side. I clap, I clap, I clap, I clap. Clapping on the Lord's side. I wave, I wave, I wave, I wave. Waving on the Lord's side. I wave, I wave, I wave, I wave. Waving on the Lord's side. I lean, I lean, I lean, I lean. Leaning on the Lord's side. I lean, I lean, I lean, I lean. Leaning on the
goodness, what a mess. Wow, this needs some cutting back. Oh, hello. Haha. So, you've caught me in my garden trying to clear it up because it is a bit of a mess. Which reminds me of this week's verse for the week. It comes again from the book of Genesis, but this week it's chapter 2 and it's verse 15. And it says this: the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. A little bit like I'm doing now with my garden. All these dead branches and overgrown bits. So, Genesis chapter 2 verse 15, the Lord God took the man, put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. Have a good week.
So far, we've thought about God's creation where we live and the goodness that there is even in the funny looking creatures. This week, we're asking,
God looked at everything he'd made and saw that it was good, but what about the mess?
The Bible tells us that when God created people, he wanted them to look after his world. God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. That's what it says in the Bible.
And in some ways, we do that really well. But in lots of other ways, we have really messed it up.
you might have heard about climate change, about pollution,
About the amount of plastic rubbish that can be found in our oceans.
And the animals who sometimes get hurt by the things that we do.
Well, you might also have heard about some of the great work being done by some people and some organisations to try and clean up some of the mess that we've made.
This week, we want to think about our responsibility to look after the world that God's made, about how we can make less mess and produce less waste.
And we also want to think about how we can use some of the skills and creativity that God has given us to take some of that mess and turn it into something more beautiful.
As usual, we have a variety of videos coming up for you this week, along with all sorts of ideas, challenges and treasure hunts in the week 3 activity pack. Sign up for the email if you haven't already. To get us thinking about how we can take the mess that we make and redeem it into something beautiful, so that God can look at the way we take care of his world and say, that's good.
And as always, we want to see what you've been up to. So keep sending us your photos, keep sending us your drawings, your crafts, your poems, your stories, whatever you're doing this week as part of Creation Staycation. Email them to the address on the screen or tag us on social media.
Animal of the week, animal of the week, animal of the week, animal of the week. Is it swoop? Is it sleep? Does it have a beak? Animal of the week. Hello and welcome to Animal of the Week. Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you might have noticed that I seem to have come in some kind of rubber ring today, and you might be wondering why. Well, I'll tell you. It's time for Animal of the Week. So, it is once again that time where I impart to you some knowledge about our chosen animal for that week. And this week, we are looking at an animal that came from lowly beginnings, came through a very messy period of life, and then arose as a beacon of beauty in the world. And that animal is the butterfly. So butterflies, as we know, who start off as caterpillars, go through like a cocoon type thing and arise as beautiful creatures. So here are my top 10 facts about butterflies. First up, we'll start off with the cocoon, or chrysalis, as it usually is for a butterfly, it turns out. So it's not as easy as just a caterpillar going in, growing wings and coming out again. Apparently, when a caterpillar goes into the cocoon or chrysalis, it will almost completely digest itself and turn to goo before rebuilding itself as a moth or butterfly. So it's a very messy process that does involve being entirely gloop. Makes it all the more impressive, actually. And look, here's what it looks like when they're in the thingy. Cool, isn't it? Now, next. Most butterflies stay in the chrysalis for between 5 and 21 days. So either way, that's quite a long time. However, if the weather's not that nice when they're ready to come out, they'll just stay in a bit longer. Just have a lie-in. Very inspirational butterflies. I like them. Next. Butterflies are great at arts and crafts. I love them. Their first job when they come out of the chrysalis is to assemble their own mouths. So they come in like 2 pieces and they have to like work them together to make them into a tube so that they can like eat pollen and stuff. You might see a newly emerged butterfly curling and uncurling their proboscis, which is their tube, over and over to test it out. That's cute. And here is a picture of one with their curly proboscis. Next. Okay, so they have gone to a lot of effort to build their mouths, but it turns out actually butterflies taste with their feet. Who knew? And one thing that they do is if they're trying to get like the taste out of like a leaf or something, then they will like get their feet and jump like that to get more taste out. So I don't know if you've ever been told not to play with your food. Meanwhile, a butterfly's there playing their food like a bongo. How strange. Next, many adult butterflies do not poop. That's because they need every bit of energy they can get from their food. So no time for pooping. But butterflies do drink from muddy puddles because they're full of tasty minerals, which are really healthy for the butterfly. This is called puddling. Where are you off, Steve? Just out puddling, Bob. Oh, good for Steve. Bonus fact. Very excited. A group of butterflies puddling is called a puddle club, which is great. And I would love to be involved, but I am aware that drinking muddy water is not actually very healthy for humans. It's a butterfly thing. So we'll leave them to it, sadly. The skipper butterfly, a particular type of butterfly, can fly faster than a horse can run. That is very impressive for something that is only about that big. So shall we see? I've put in a special effect for us all to enjoy to recreate the moment when they're outstripping a horse. Did you hear the sound effect? I put that in, although we'll have it again. Oh, it's very exciting. We'll have it one more time. Gets me every time. Ah. Butterflies can see ultraviolet colours that are invisible to the human eye. I love stuff like that. There's more colours than we can even see, but butterflies can see them. There's always more to the world than we know. I love it. A group of butterflies is called a flutter. A flutter of butterflies, if you will. How lovely. Flutter of butterflies. Right, we have one more fact, and it is in the form of a puzzle. So butterflies are very good at camouflage. Can you spot the butterfly hiding in this picture? Now, if you don't want me to tell you, if you haven't found it yet, press pause now. So I can tell you the butterfly is here. Well done if you managed to find that, eagle-eyed people. If you thought that that was too easy, here is a more advanced puzzle for you. Can you spot the butterfly in this picture? Now, if you can, then I am very, very impressed because I had no idea who it was. I will give you a clue. It is a green butterfly. So you're looking for something green. Okay, press pause if you want a bit longer to look. I will tell you, the butterfly is there, pretending to be a leaf, hiding in plain sight. So well done to you if you actually managed to spot it. If you manage to see that, then you are the brainsiest of the brainsy, and I take my hat off to you. Metaphorically, not really. If you didn't spot it, then it just goes to show how talented our friends the butterfly are. So that concludes my top 10 facts about butterflies. So see how many different types and different coloured butterflies you can spot as you go out and about this week. And don't forget to let us know for our live list of wonders. Okay, have fun.
So just before I show you what I've been up to for my challenge this week, I thought I would just show you the inspiration behind what I decided to do. These are a couple of pieces of great big artwork that I've seen when I've been travelling around, both made out of rubbish, something beautiful from something rubbish. This first one is a great big fish, which is in a place called Helsinge in Denmark, and it's been made out of all kinds of plastic bits of rubbish that were found in the sea between Denmark and Sweden. And the artist took all those pieces of rubbish and turned them into this great big colourful fish that stood on the wall just next to the harbour in Helsinge. And it's an amazing thing. It really catches your eye. It's so bright and colourful and vibrant, and all of that is made from some rubbish. And the second piece that I really remember seeing was in Dublin, and this is a giant red squirrel on the side of a building in Dublin, which was made by an artist called Arthur Bordalo. He's from Portugal, and he's made a series of sort of sculptures on buildings called trash animals, and this red squirrel is made out of all kinds of rubbish and waste and dirt on the side of the building. When he first starts making his pieces, people think, what on earth are you up to? What is that? It's just a load of rubbish stuck to a wall. But in the end, it looks like something really beautiful, and he uses that to highlight animals that are struggling to survive in the wild. The red squirrel in Ireland, its numbers really, really fell, but are now making a comeback, which is a great way of showing us that we can make things better. So this is how I got on trying to make something beautiful out of rubbish. So this week we are thinking all about making something beautiful out of some rubbish. So for my challenge, I'm going to see if I can make some beautiful things out of bits of rubbish. Now, my first challenge I'm going to do is my friend gave me a huge pile of old sheet music that she didn't want anymore. And rather than just stick it in the recycling bin, I'm going to see if I can make something beautiful out of this rubbish. So I've decided I'm going to make a beautiful kind of mobile out of the sheet music, because if you use different papers like sheet music or pages that might have fallen out of books, you can make really beautiful things out of them. So I've started by making myself a butterfly template. So I printed off the outline of a butterfly from the internet, cut it out, and I stuck it on a bit of old rubbish cardboard from a crisp box. I made myself a template. I'm going to make myself a host of beautiful butterflies.
You bring me hope when I'm down. Pick me up, turn me around. Show me love, deep and wide. Give me joy that bubbles up and overflows from well inside. You bring me hope when I'm down. Pick me up, turn me around, show me love, deep and wide. Give me joy that bubbles up and overflows from well inside. I'm gonna sing it out, shout it out, till the whole world knows Jesus lives inside of me from my head down to my toes. You bring me hope when I'm down. Pick me up, turn me around, show me love, deep and wide, give me joy.
So I now have a whole pile of finished butterflies. Some of them are paint splatties. Some of them are just plain sheet music. You can see they're very beautiful. Some of them have got the blue front cover from one of the pieces of music too. So I'm going to just take, and you might need a grown-up to do this bit for you, because you need to use a sharp, can't see that there, a sharp pin. Put a little hole just in the top of each butterfly, just about a centimetre in. And you might need a grown-up to do this bit for you, because I don't want you pricking yourself. I'm just going to put a little hole in each one. So now all my butterflies have a little hole in. I have some gold thread that I'm going to use just to hang them up. You don't have to hang them up. They also look really good just blue tacked on windows, or maybe on your wardrobe door if that's okay. And if you want to just stick them up, you don't need to put the hole in them. But I'm going to hang mine up. So if you take your thread and you thread it through that tiny hole, you might again need a grown-up to just help you do that. You pull it through, and then you can tie a knot in the top of your thread, and then you have a little flying butterfly you can hang up. So I'm going to finish the rest off, and then we'll have a look what they look like. So there they are, all finished. I decided to hang mine on my bookshelf. A whole host of butterflies hovering around some of my favourite books. Of course, you don't have to stick yours there. You could put them in the window, hang them from your ceiling, wherever you fancy. And of course, you don't have to do butterflies. You could do dragonflies or birds or elephants or monkeys. You could just do shapes like stars or hearts, or if you prefer something spooky, you could do something like bats. Up to you, but have a go. Find yourself some fancy paper that's due to be thrown out and see if you can make something beautiful. So the next thing I'm going to make is a little bit less conventionally beautiful, but still something beautiful out of something rubbish. I have something we often all have, an empty plastic bottle, which is really not good for the environment. So if we can do something useful with that, that would be good. And I also have a couple of wooden spoons that are headed for the bin. Let's see if we can make something good with them. Okay, so we're going to use our plastic bottle and our wooden spoons to make a bird feeder, so we can see some of the wonders of creation that God made by attracting more birds to our gardens. This is how we're going to do it. So the first thing we're going to do is take the lid off our bottle. But we're going to keep it because we're going to save it, need it later. And then the next thing we're going to do is to take another little pin. Again, you probably might need a grown-up to help you with this. Turn your bottle upside down and we're going to poke some little holes in the bottom of the bottle. And the reason that we're going to poke some little holes in the bottom of the bottle, you'll need quite a strong pin for this, is because if it rains, you want the rainwater to be able to drain out of your bottle so it doesn't make the food mouldy. So hopefully you can see there's lots of little tiny pinholes in the bottom there. It's quite hard work, so do get a grown-up to do that bit for you. They just need to be small enough that the birdseed doesn't fall out through them, but that water can. Now the next thing you need to do is with the same needle, so again make sure you have a grown-up helping with this, make a little hole just near the bottom of the bottle, about there. You can see, and then we're going to do the same on the other side at about the same point, opposite the first hole. There we go. And then what you want to do is just make those holes slightly bigger. So I'm using a little pair of scissors. If you're using anything sharp, just make sure you've got that grown-up helping you out. And then we're going to stick our wooden spoon through those holes, make them big enough for the spoon to go through. And we want it sticking through on both sides like that. This is the place where our birds are going to perch whilst they eat their food. And then what we want to do is just repeat that same process with the wooden spoon, with the needle and the scissors a little bit further up for our second spoon. I'm going to do mine so it's in the other side to this one, so they're at right angles to each other, make it a bit more interesting to watch. 2 perches for our birds to sit on. Well, now the next thing we need to do is make little holes for the birds to eat the food out of, because you can see if they sat there on that spoon, they wouldn't be able to get much out through the plastic, would they? So for this you will need something about the size of a 5p piece And we're just going to cut very small holes just above each perch, the size of a 5p piece. Now you'll probably find it a bit easier to cut these if we take the spoons out before we do the cutting. It's important to put them in so we get the holes in the right place, but whilst we're cutting them we'll just take them back out. So we start each one off with the needle just like before, and then get your scissors in. Remember, let a grown-up help with this tricky bit. Make the hole as big as you can, and then you should be able to just cut around that. Doesn't matter if it's not too neat, because I don't think the birds will mind, but do try and do it so the edges are not too sharp. So we don't want the birds hurting themselves. Okay, so don't forget the little bits you've cut out can go in the recycling. That's good for the environment. And then this next bit, again, you might just want a grown-up to help you, is just to check how sharp the edges are where we've cut these holes in. So we don't want the birds to get hurt when they're eating out of our feeder. So you could just use a bit of sandpaper, or you could try a nail file just to sharpen, get rid of any sharp edges, just file them off. And make sure if you've got any bits of plastic sticking out like that one there, that they are tucked inside. So spend a bit of time just tidying up your sharp edges on your bottle. So I'm going to put these wooden spoons back through now. So we have our spoons back in now, and the next thing we need to do is make a mechanism so we can hang it up in the garden. So you can either put some more holes through the neck to thread some wool through there, or you can just tie some round your bottle, but you're going to need some string or some wool. Tie that on. So the next thing we're going to do is get this string and tie it around the top of the bottle so we can hang it up. So I'm going to just wrap it round a couple of times to make sure it's nice and strong. I don't want this falling down when we've hung it up. I'm going to tie a knot in it there to hold it onto the bottle very tightly, and then just going to tie these two ends together up here. So I've tied my knot there now, so that should hang up when we take it out to the garden. So our next job is to fill it up with birdseed. So we've got this mealworm mix that the birds in our garden really love, and I'm going to ask Megan to just help me. You hold my bottle at the bottom, Meg, so it doesn't fall over. Lovely. And we have a funnel, very handy for putting the food in. So that narrow end goes in there, and we'll pour it in and fill it right up, and hopefully it won't all fall out through our holes. So you can see our bottle is full of bird food now. We're going to pop the lid back on, which will help to keep it dry if it rains. Now you might have noticed a little bit of birdseed might drop out of the holes when you're moving it. So I'm going to pick it up and pop it in here, so that if anything falls out while we take it out to the garden, it'll get caught in this plastic box. Let's take it out and hang it up. Hey. So there we have it, something beautiful from some rubbish. Have a go at making your own bird feeder and see how you get on.
All around the world, from the icy mountains to the tropical islands. All around the world, people are moving with their hand in God's hand. All around the world, facing down injustice and taking a stand. all around the world, all around the world. And we'll try to get it right this time, though we haven't done too well so far. We'll find shelter for the homeless, feed the hungry, 'cause we're all God's children wherever we are. All God's children wherever we are. All around the world, from the icy mountains to the tropical islands. All around the world, people are moving with their hand in God's hand. All around the world, facing down injustice and taking a stand. All around the world, all around the world. And we'll try to get it right this time, though we haven't done too well so far. We'll find shelter for the homeless, feed the hungry, 'cause we're all God's children wherever we are. All God's children wherever we are. All around the world, from the icy mountains to the tropical islands. All around the world, people are moving with their hand in God's hand. All around the world, facing down injustice and taking a stand. All around the world, all around the world.
Let's get going with the challenge to find God even in the mess.
Because if anyone can help us take something rubbish and turn it into something beautiful,
That's God.
let's go.